DreAllDay.com.
Now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. Dre, what is that? That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques all underneath the umbrella of one unified philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is part 2 of our 2-part mini-series, Why Christianity is Being Openly Disrespected. 2 things real quick before we start. 3 things. My text message number down below in the description. Second thing, get on my email list for free. If you're not getting my emails every day, go to workonmygame.com. That link's down below in the description. Third thing, have me as your direct coach. Get access to all of our programs, all of our trainings, and live coaching calls with me. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Picking up where we left off. Again, we are picking up on part 2 of this 2-part mini-series. Point number 4. Topic, once again, is why Christianity is being openly disrespected. Point number 4. Acceptance of open disrespect by heathens and non-believers. So heathens are simply people who are not believers and they're not operating by biblical principles. And it appears, this is how it appears to me. If you're a Christian, you can let me know what you see. It appears to me that Christians are accepting this open disrespect of Christianity by people who are not Christians. Outsiders is openly disrespecting your thing. And if you keep allowing it to happen, then people are going to come to realize, oh, okay, well, this thing is not respected because it's being openly disrespected right to their faces. Ain't nobody saying nothing, so I guess it's okay. Let me ask you a question. Could you go into a Jewish neighborhood and just openly disrespect Judaism and get away with it? Could you openly disrespect Islam in an Islamic country? No, you couldn't do those things. You would get your head knocked off at worst. You'd be severely upbraided at best. And you will probably be excommunicated from the space. In other words, kicked out and told to not return ever again. And you will believe that threat to not return ever again. You would take that directive rather as a threat to not return because you know something might happen because they wouldn't allow it. You couldn't just openly disrespect Judaism in front of Jewish people and get away with it. You couldn't openly disrespect Islam in front of Islamic people and get away with it. Christianity, on the other hand, is allowing anything and everything. There's a lot of laissez-faire happening with Christianity. Do what thou wilt, live however you want to live, believe whatever it is you want to believe, be whoever you want to be, and then we will find something in the Bible that will validate and affirm you regardless of who you are and regardless of what you do. That is not the way anything that operates by principles works. Any entity in mankind that operates by principles and operates by standards, Christianity is supposed to be one of those entities, does not allow for anything and everything. There are rules to be followed. That does not mean that it is closing its doors to anyone and everyone. Anyone and everyone can walk in, but when you walk in, if you decide you want to operate with us, you want to do what we do, you're in Rome, you got to operate the way the Romans behave. You can't just do what you want to do and call yourself a Roman. No. When in Rome, do as the Romans. Everybody's heard that saying before, right? Okay, so if you're Jewish, you got to do what the Jewish people do. If you're Islamic, you got to do what the Islamic people do. If you're a Christian, you got to do what the Christians do. Problem is, going back to the first point from yesterday's episode, what are the rules? Christians, what are the rules? And are the rules being enforced? And if someone is not following the rules, what happens and who does it? This is the problem with Christianity. People don't have answers to these questions. They don't even know what the rules are. Secondly, the rules are not being enforced, whatever they are. And third, if someone is to violate the rule, ain't nobody doing nothing. So what do you expect? This is the broken window theory live in effect when it comes to Christianity. There's a whole lot of broken windows in the Christian neighborhood and ain't nobody doing nothing about it. So what do you expect? I talked about this in episode 932, leadership and the broken window theory. And I talked about it again in episode 2700, fix your broken windows. What it means is, those not familiar with the broken window theory, is a concept that was popularized. I don't think he invented it, but it was popularized by former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani. His whole idea was that if there's an abandoned building in town and someone breaks a window, then and nobody fixes the window, then eventually someone's going to write graffiti on the wall of that building. Then eventually someone's going to throw trash on the ground in front of the building. Eventually someone's going to break all the other windows, and eventually the whole neighborhood is going to go to shit because people saw there was no response to the first sign of open disrespect to property. Then all the properties start getting disrespected. Then the people start getting disrespectful. And before you know it, you took a good neighborhood and turned it into shit. That's the concept of the broken window theory. It's a reflection of a slippery slope idea, which sometimes can fall into fallacy. But the general concept is, if no one checks you the first time you do the wrong thing, then eventually you're going to be doing 100 wrong things because you learned from the first experience that nobody's going to say anything about it. Nobody's going to stop you, so you just kept doing it. This is how the broken window theory works. Christianity's got a lot of broken windows right now, and ain't nobody fixing the windows. This is the problem. Christianity has evolved to allow for anything and everything. Again, no entity that operates by principle allows anything and everything. That's not possible. And Christians allegedly have principles. Everybody's heard of the 10 Commandments, right? So Christianity does have principles. The question is, are they being followed? Are people being reminded of those principles? And does anybody even give a damn about the principles while at the same time calling themselves Christians? Seems like a lot of people are calling themselves Christians. They're Christians out of convenience. They're convenient Christians. So every Sunday from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, you're a Christian. But the rest of the week, you're just doing whatever you want to do. And then on Sunday, you're trying to wash your hands of your secular, heathenical, if that's even a word, nonsense by going to church. This is bullshit. Going to church every Sunday does not make you a Christian any more than wearing a pair of Jordan sneakers every day would make you a basketball player. Are you actually following the principles of your religion? Do you even know what they are? Does everybody else know what they are? Is everybody on the same page as far as what the principles are? And is everyone following them? And is anybody checking anybody else when they see somebody openly not following the principles yet claiming that they're a Christian? This is just a question that I have. I don't know the answer to this question. I don't think the people in that DC church where they had that female quote unquote bishop, I don't think they're doing that there, because what should have happened before that woman even got a chance to be the bishop was somebody should have said, hey, a woman is not to be head of a church, period. She's not going to be the leader because a woman cannot be the head of a church. And it should have been over right there. Did that happen? No. And thus, she's a bishop. And now she's on stage telling you what she thinks. Like anybody came there to hear what she had to say. No, we came to hear what the word says. And since the word can't talk to us, we're letting you do it. That's the purpose of being a leader in Christianity. So I'm wondering again, folks, Christianity is allowing anything and everything. And when you allow anything and everything, you cannot, by definition, be standing on principle. By definition, you are not operating by principle if you're allowing anything and everything. The whole purpose of principle is that it is not inclusive, it is exclusive. So you know this whole diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? That I and DEI, not a fan. I'm not a fan of any of the three. And it's not so much about the dictionary definitions of these terms, it's about how they're being implemented. And in case any of you didn't know, of course, I've talked about this already. I did a whole series on it, episode 23, 07, 08, and 09. I talked about how to do DIE the right way. So I took diversity, inclusion, and equity, and I broke them down to what they actually mean and then how they should be being used if we were going to have DEI out there. We don't have this being done the right way, and this is the reason why we have the trash that we have here today. So this was episode number, again, 23, 09, 08, and 07. And I know I did another episode on this. It was episode 2199. Why diversity, inclusion, and equity is the enemy of high performance. The point of me bringing all that up is that inclusion is only possible when you lower standards. You can only have inclusion when you start lowering standards. The NBA right now, for example, has about 450 active players in the league. And one of the things that makes the NBA as popular as it is that there are only 450 people who can hold down a job in that league at one time. Even if there are 500 people who are good enough, quote unquote, good enough, at least 50 of them will not have a job in the NBA. Why? Because the league is exclusive. It is not inclusive. If the NBA was trying to be inclusive, it would open it up and there'd be more teams and more roster spots, and there'd be more players who could play and who could say that they play in the NBA because it's trying to be inclusive. But what makes the NBA what it is that it's exclusive. Not everybody can get into the club. You got to be really, really good during a certain window of your lifetime in order to get into the club. And most people never fit that description. That's why most people never make it. And this can apply to any aspect of life. If you are standing on principle, you cannot allow for everything. The NBA stands on a principle. You got to be this level of good to even get a look from one of our scouts that might consider you for a tryout or a workout at some point in the future. But you're not owed it just because you're black or because you're gay or because the league just needs to change just for the sake of change. They don't do that. Notice all high performing entities, whether people, teams, organizations, that they may on some levels pay lip service to these social idea nonsenses, but do they actually do them? The answer is no. They don't. If you are standing on principle, it's impossible for you to be okay with everything. Again, I'm not even a Christian, but I'm just wondering what the principles of Christianity are. I don't know. I should be able to tell by looking at you the way you operate from the outside looking in. But it seems these days people are picking and choosing how they feel every day. It's a whole lot of picking and choosing going on. So somebody help me out and clear this up. Moving on to point number 5. Today's topic, once again, is why Christianity is being openly disrespected. Number 5, focus on individualism. Now, I am a fan of the general concept of individualism. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Don't complain about the unfairness that could be possibly working against you. Work on your game, get out there and perform, produce results. You get the outcomes that you want. When it comes to those aspects of individualism, I am a fan, I'm a co-signer, and I will always be a co-signer of those. When you decide to join an organization, ladies and gentlemen, when you join an organization or you join a group, a part of your individualism must die in order for you to integrate with the group. This is just how life works. This is just how human dynamics work. You're going to join a group that's already established and you're the newcomer coming in. There is some part of you that you need to leave at the door when you walk in there because it is incompatible with the environment that you're going into. And being that you're the visitor and you're the convert sitting in the back, what you think and what you want, how you want things to be are irrelevant because you have no say-so within this group. Which is why you have to give up a little bit of your individualism in order to make this happen. Whatever you prioritize as an individual that conflicts with whatever the group is doing, whatever the group wants, well, whoever has a stronger frame wins. Whatever you prioritize as an individual that conflicts with, excuse me, whatever group wants wins. So if I'm joining a group and I have some priorities that go against the grain of this group, and the group wants to enforce their priorities over my personal priorities, the group wins. Because I'm the one trying to join the group. I'm the one trying to become part of the group. Whatever you prioritize that conflicts with whatever the group is doing, the group wins. I've heard people who've been part of the mafia talk about this now. Michael Francis, he has a YouTube channel that's very popular where he talks about current events. He also tells stories about his past, having been in the mafia in New York back in the 80s going into the 90s. And I've heard people say that when you're in the mafia, you get sworn in, you are told that nothing in life comes before this family. At this point alone, it's just the family, nothing comes before the family. And they'll say, if you're in the mafia and you're by your dying mother's bedside at the hospital and your phone rings and they need you to be somewhere in 10 minutes, you got to leave your dying mother there in the hospital and go where you were told to go for 10 minutes. That's the way it works. I'm telling you that not to say that you should leave your dying mother in the hospital, nor am I telling you that you should join the mafia. What I'm saying is when you're a member of the mafia, the principles are clear and they're super clear. To give you an example, if we call you and say, be at this place at this time, you have no choice but to be at that place at that time. If you can't do it, well, then that's going to hurt your standing within the group. Simple as that. So you have to give up some of your personal priorities so you can fit within the team concept and see what the team needs. I've heard people who have been part of the mafia, as I said, talk about this. When they're sworn in, everything goes after your job in the family. And that's it. And this is what commitment means, ladies and gentlemen. Commitment means that even when the excitement of the situation is over, you still have to follow through and do what you said you were going to do. In Christianity, it seems that people are picking and choosing what parts of Christianity that they want to follow. They leave out the parts that they don't want to follow. And this is not how you practice a religion, period. This is just not. You do not practice a religion by doing the things that are convenient for you and leaving out the stuff that is not so fun. I remember back in the days when I was making basketball videos, I would get a lot of players coming to me asking if I could show them how to do dribbling moves, and this is mostly dribbling moves and stuff, of a player by the name of Kyrie Irving. I would also get questions about this guy named Derrick Rose at the time. And I would get players who would say to me, well, Dre, I heard that when Kyrie was young, he used to do ABC, and they would mention some drill or some type of workout routine that they heard Kyrie Irving had done. Kyrie Irving was a wizard dribbling the basketball, still is to this day. And I would say to the players the same thing that I'll tell all of you. And it's the following, that if you on a basketball court want to be like Kyrie Irving or Michael Jordan or whoever, you got to do all the stuff that they do when you're not watching. You can't just do the stuff that's convenient for you. So you saw that Michael Jordan used to wear Air Jordan sneakers, and then he was jumping 45 inches in the air, scoring 30 points a game, and winning 6 championships in the NBA. Does that mean if you go throw on a pair of Jordans, you're going to all of a sudden become great at basketball? No, probably not. Probably not. It doesn't mean that if you are average in school that you're going to go get yourself you're average in school as a performer, you're going to go and get yourself a great job when you get out of school that is based on your resume. Of course not, because your only resume you got in school and you didn't perform. Whole point is, folks, you can't pick and choose the parts that are convenient for you. In Christianity, people are picking and choosing what parts they want to follow, leave out the parts they don't, and then they call themselves practicing their religion. That's not the way you practice a religion. That is not the way you practice anything. You can't just pick and choose the parts you want to follow and then wonder why you're not getting the results. Moving on to point number 6. Today's topic, once again, is why Christianity is being so openly disrespected. Number 6 is political ties. As soon as you let the politics get involved in these things, this is when you start to get shenanigans. This is when you start to get trouble. And this happens on both sides of the political aisle, by the way. There are people who are staunchly conservative and people who are staunchly Democrat, both claiming Christianity at the same time. Now, given what I know about both political aisles, it is functionally impossible, especially in the world that we're living in today, for Democrats and Republicans to all be following Christianity, because there's only one form of Christianity. Right? There are other denominations that give themselves other names. There's one way to be Christian. The only way that it's possible that you could have two people, both Christian, one Democrat and one Republican, is if they are creating their own interpretations of the religion itself to where they don't even need the book. So when did being LGBTQ become something that was protected by Christianity? When exactly did that happen? Is that Barack Obama's fault or somebody else's? When did it become a thing that LGBTQ was represented by the flag? And that was, again, it was during Barack Obama's term, which I believe was the second term, from 2012 up to 2016. I believe it was Obama. So how are Christian leaders defending this? There's a question. How are they defending this? The opening ceremony of the 2024 Paris Olympics. That was done openly in the face of everybody. And who okayed that? For the opening ceremony of the Olympics, that's a big gig, big time gig. It's like the Super Bowl here in America. Somebody had to okay that act happening on stage at the 2024 Paris Olympics. If you didn't see it, it was a open mockery of Christianity is what it was. You can look it up and see for yourself and read about it. How are Christian leaders defending this? And how did this get all the way to the point? I'm sure there were some Christians who were part of the organizing teams, the choreographers, the whoever's, that there were people who were looking at this and saw what was going to be put up there. It had to be somebody who was Christian somewhere along that line, that chain of command, that said, hold up, maybe we shouldn't do this one. Why didn't nobody stop it? Why didn't nobody stop it? Why didn't nobody do anything? Because when it came out, there were plenty of people who had plenty to say. You telling me there was not any one person who had any leanings in that direction who could have seen that before it came out and threw their body in front of the moving truck and said, if you're going to keep going, you got to run me over? Was there anybody who did that? I don't think so. So why didn't nobody put a stop to this nonsense that was happening? Just an open question that I'm going to leave you to sit with while I recap today's class. This is part 2 of our 2-part mini-series, Why Christianity is Openly Disrespected. Number 4, acceptance of open disrespect by heathens and non-believers. You cannot disrespect Judaism in front of a bunch of Jewish people. You couldn't disrespect Islam in front of a bunch of Islamic people. All right, worst case, you get your head knocked off. Best case, you have a story to tell while you're getting ran out of that place. But with Christianity, people are picking and choosing and accepting pretty much everything. That moves us to point number 5. Focus on individualism. Anytime you join an entity or an organization, a little bit of you personally must be left at the door, because it ain't about you personally anymore. It's about what you can do to add value to the organization, which means falling in line with how the organization works. Yes, you can show off your brilliance, but first you got to be able to do the basics. When you decide to join a group, a pat on the back a part of your individualism has to die in order for that to work, as I just explained. Whatever you prioritize as an individual, if it conflicts with the group, you do what the group wants. And that's it. That's it. There's no more discussion. Whatever the group wants, that's what you follow if your goal is to integrate yourself in the group. You're in the mafia and you're sitting by your dying grandmother's bedside and they call you. You got to leave your dying grandmother, hope she's still there 5-6 hours from now after you get done doing what they called you to do, because this is your number one priority. People are picking and choosing which parts they want to follow. They leave out the parts they don't want to follow. That's why this is not working. This leads us to point number 6. Political ties. This is on both sides of the religious aisle politically, that you have people on both sides doing promotional campaigns, let's say, for lack of a better term, for political entities. And I'm not a fan of this at all. I'm not a fan of this at all, because people are creating their own interpretations of the religion and then using their own interpretations and the out of context facts that they have found. Again, context to me. They're using that to validate whatever it is that they want to say. And those of you who are Christians, don't think that this is slipping under people's noses. People see it. They're just not able to say it. I'm able to say it directly to you. So I hope that Christianity can get its shit together, clean itself up, and get itself back to being respectful, let alone renowned. But for now, it's in trouble based on these points that I've given you. All that said, make sure you go to workonmygame.com, get on my email list for free. My text message number down below in the description, and workonyourgameuniversity.com. Have me as your direct coach. Let's get to work at that. That's all at workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre, all